What up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Monday to you all. DK Show now up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. Google and Alexa home devices. Download that Sports Talk app. Take it on the go wherever you're at. Plus, video streams also up and rolling YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Twitch, X/Twitter. Am I missing any of them over there? There's 5 of them over there. But appreciate you tuning in, broadcasting live from the TDS Sports Talk 105.1 studios here this morning. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? Well, I think you know quite a bit about it. Not a victory Monday. Can't even say that about if we got any Vikings fans tuning in. I know we got some Lions fans tuning in, but they got to be feeling pretty good about winning division, getting the 1 seed, home field throughout the postseason and such. But in terms of Green Bay, eventually it was probably going to happen, but Bears snapping their losing streak against the Packers with a last-second field goal, 24-22 victory for the Bears at Lambeau Field. And to add a little insult to injury, Christian Watson suffering a serious knee injury. It looks like he's going to probably be done for the rest of the season. And let's just say if it is an ACL, which it sure kind of gave us a lot. I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor, but I think a lot of us kind of thought that looked like an ACL injury. Might affect him for next year too. And then Jordan Love leaving the game early due to an elbow injury. But he said after the game that he would be good, and Matt LaFleur also said that he would be good to go for next week, next Sunday. In case you missed it last night, is a Sunday afternoon kickoff, 3:30 for the Packers. So Love said he will be good to go for that game. But after those injuries, we didn't get to see Josh Jacobs a whole lot. 6 carries for 44 yards after that. Romeo Doubs didn't play in a game due to an illness, apparently, but this was just an ugly, dumb game. I mean, filled with mistakes and boneheaded stuff. I mean, getting fooled on a punt return, turnovers, Jane Reed fumbling the ball. I mean, it was kind of on both sides too. Stupid clock management stuff from LaFleur at the end there, instead of not calling a timeout, and probably could have drained that clock down more on their field goal attempts to get McManus out there. There was everything that felt like it could go wrong. It kind of went wrong yesterday with injuries and turnovers and boneheaded decisions and just weird play. It was, I think, a very frustrating game as fans to watch, but incredibly frustrating probably for the team to play too, especially now going into the postseason, losing their last 2 games. And think about this too. Green Bay is literally a field goal block away from going winless in the division. Think about that. 1-5 in the division this year. And boy, man, I know butterfly effect, a lot of things could have gone differently, but still, when you put that's a really bad taste in your mouth there. So, regardless, with I guess on the if we're looking at the positivity of this all, on the positive side, if they would have won, it wouldn't have improved their seedings because the Commanders pulled out a last-second win against the Cowboys. So regardless, Green Bay would have been the 7th seed to begin with. But I think for the most part, we were just all looking like we talked about it on Friday, right? We wanted to see a good performance, wanted to feel good about the team heading into the postseason, and really, I don't know if we're there. I mean, defense played well enough to win the game, except for the last drive there. I kind of question a little bit what played some really deep safeties there that allowed the Bears to pick up that huge gain there. I mean, anybody who's seen that steal shot there probably knows what I'm talking about there. Our good buddy J.C. Nisi, Justice Cleveland, had a good shot of it on his X feed. Well, speaking of which, Justin will be with us here in a little bit, but other than that, I mean, they came out. I mean, the defense came out inspired, hot, making plays all over the field. They were putting some some bad positions at times, but overall, I mean, I thought the defense played well enough to win the game besides that last drive there. And really, if Green Bay didn't have any blunders on special teams and played better on offense, it would have, I think, easily won that game. But I got to imagine, what's your biggest concern with your team, with this Packers team heading into the postseason right now with a trip over to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles? Is it the passing offense right now? There's some issues going on with this passing offense here too. I mean, oof, we can take a look at all that. We will coming up here in just a little bit. But Packers fans, your reactions, your thoughts leading into the postseason here. Hit me up 715-830-1912 with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line over there. So the whole playoff field is set though. As we mentioned, the Lions picking up a victory 31-9 last night against the Vikings, which means the Lions are the top seed. They will have home field advantage throughout, plus a bye. So we know Eagles hosting the Packers in a 2 seed versus 7 seed matchup. And then the rest of the postseason is going to look like, sticking with the NFC, I suppose we got Washington that's going to be visiting Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay now, the 3 seed, hosting the Commanders because the Rams lost yesterday. So that means Minnesota will be taking on the Rams. That game's going to be a week from tonight, Monday night. So Kevin O'Connell going back to the Rams over there. So the rest of the matchups, AFC wise, you got Chargers visiting the Texans, the Steelers taking on the Ravens in an AFC North rematch. Denver will be visiting Buffalo. And yeah, that's looking at the lines here too. I saw it yesterday opened up. I think it moved up a little bit more, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of surprised that Philly's only favored by 4.5 in this thing. Yesterday it was 3.5. The one I'm looking at right now is 4.5. So regardless where it's at, about 3.5, 4. I thought it'd be a little bit higher, to be honest with you. Baltimore right now is favored by 9.5 over Pittsburgh. And where was the other one here? Oh yeah, Buffalo 9.5 over Denver. I actually thought that might be a double-digit one there, but who knows? So, but we'll talk some football throughout this morning here. Talk about the playoffs and taking a look at that and all that good stuff. It hasn't been much better for the Bucs either because while they've dropped their last couple games against some not very good opponents either. So I mean, Packers maybe taking a little page out of the Bucs play here as of late. But Bucs will try to rebound and, pun intended, rebound and pick up a win tonight going up against the Raptors. But the Bucs are coming off of a loss against the Trailblazers on Saturday, 105-102, coming off of a loss against the Nets on Thursday. Back on Thursday, they're 113-110. That was an ugly loss that we talked about on Friday there a little bit. So, yeah, not a very good couple last games here for the Bucs. Hopefully they can get this thing figured out because I mean, it was around Christmas, right before Christmas break. We were talking about this is a stretch run here for the Bucs that you can rack up some wins here. And right now, they haven't been taking advantage of it. Nets, nope. Trailblazers, nope. We'll see about the Raptors. They got Spurs Wednesday, Magic, Knicks, Kings after that, Magic, Raptors again. So, but tip time for tonight's game, 6:30. You can catch that on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. But Badger basketball, going backwards here a little bit to Friday nights. I mean, record night for the Badger men's basketball team. Not only taking down Iowa, that's always, whenever we can beat Fran McCaffrey, I think an angel gets its wings. But nonetheless, Badgers putting up a record performance at the Kohl Center. Most points scored at the Kohl Center. And then most three-pointers made by the Badgers. 21 three-pointers, 116 to 85. Badgers putting up 54 in the first and then 62 in the second, outscoring Iowa by 20 points in the second half of that game. It was just on fire for the Badgers, led by John Blackwell, who had 32 points. Stephen Crawl contributing 14. Nolan Winter, 18. John Tanjay had 12 points as well. But the Badgers shooting 64.5% from the field overall and 67.7% from three. Whew! 88.2% from charity stripe, out rebounding Iowa 39-25. Yeah, but Badgers with a record night, feeling pretty good back on Friday against Iowa there. So nice win to open up the full on slate. I know they've already had a couple games in the Big Ten schedule, but kind of the full on slate there. And then if we go back to Friday as well, Marquette's picked up a victory over Creighton 79-71. It's kind of a busy weekend though for the Badgers. Outside of basketball and such, you had hockey over at Wrigley Field. Anybody kind of tuning into that? Maybe some of you went to it. I don't know if anybody went to it. Hit me up. I'd like to hear how it was and such. But yeah, you had that going on. The men's team back on Saturday nights going up against number 1 Michigan State fell in overtime 3-4 against Michigan State there. And then for the women's team, for the women's Badger hockey team, they were also in action, and they excuse me, I'm choking up here a little bit. Apologies, but no, they going up against Ohio State at Wrigley Field. Ohio State won in the shootout, 1-0, and went to overtime, or tied. Ohio State went to overtime. Spit it out, Dan. But so kind of cool event, but unfortunately, Badger hockey not able to pick up any of the W's. They kept it close. There were close games, big time games going up against Ohio State over there too, and then obviously top ranked Michigan State for the men's team. But we'll talk more Badgers, especially with RJ Cardinal coming up tomorrow. I know Badger football has been active in the transfer portal and picking up some guys over there as well. So, but we'll do a lot of deep dive into Badgers, especially with Mr. Cardinal coming at you tomorrow. It is I'm not saying, but I'm just saying Monday morning. So fill in the blanks, best ones. I'll read on the air. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, fill in the blank there. Okay. Hit me up with those. We'll do some local sports roundup with Mr. Cleveland, Justice Cleveland. He'll be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour, 7 to 8 here this morning. So plenty to get to. Let's open it up. Let's get things started. Packers falling to the Bears yesterday afternoon. Packers will be the 7th seed heading into the postseason. How you feeling, Packers fans? One and done? Do you think this team, where's your confidence level? Where's your biggest concern with this team heading into this postseason here? Start to hit me up with those texts or comment on the video streams if you'd like. 715-830-1912. We'll get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff, our first break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. At Hy-Vee, they're more than just a grocery store. They are your one-stop shop for everything you need, all in one place. From fresh produce and top-quality meats to your favorite snacks and household essentials, they've got you covered. Need a quick dinner solution? Check out their delicious ready-to-eat meals or swing by their in-store bakery and deli for made fresh daily options. And don't forget to fill up and take advantage of Hy-Vee's Fuel Savers. With friendly service, great prices, and convenience you can count on, Hy-Vee is here to make your day easier. Getting things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. Packers falling to the Bears yesterday. Now we're on to the postseason, where the Packers will be the 7th seed taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, a rematch from week 1. Obviously, both these teams a little bit different since week 1 and such, but nonetheless, it is a rematch here. So, how you feeling, Packers fans? Where's your biggest concern level? Where's your confidence level heading into this game against the Eagles and such? Let me know. Hit me up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or comment on the various video streams we got rolling out there as well. I will say, going back to the Bears game, if we're looking at some of the positives, let's maybe look at a couple of the positives before we get into some of the some of the negatives in this thing. But defensively, I thought the defense came out. First of all, we heard it on telecast yesterday. I think it was Moose Johnson that mentioned it, where Jeff Hafley kind of challenged his defense. That was a goal of the Packers defense to this year lead the league, or Jeff Hafley's goal one to lead the league in turnovers, and he challenged his defense. Hey, let's still try to get that. Let's get a bunch of turnovers in this game and maybe make that jump up there to that number 1 spot. So I loved the mindset. I love the mentality, and it looked like this defense came out with their hair on fire and playing at an incredibly high level, getting pressure on Caleb Williams, not allowing the Bears offense to move the ball whatsoever. I mean, what after the first quarter, was it still in the negatives and such? So the defense, I thought, right away came out to play. Unfortunately, the special teams didn't come out ready to play right away, and the offense didn't start off very hot either. Another slow start for the offense. So at least one unit came ready to play and came with their tails on fire, to put it politely here. Rashawn Gary, I thought, had a solid game. Edgerrin Cooper, again, I think, this guy is, he did a couple things similar to what he did in the Minnesota game, where it looked like there were some free running lanes for a ball carrier. And then all of a sudden 56 is coming through there and taking down that ball carrier. It just seems he's the most instinctive linebacker this Packers team has at this current point in time. And I hope that he can just continue to grow, continue to get better, continue to be more consistent in that. So there were some positives, defensively there. By the way, Brandon McManus, can we just re-sign him so we don't have to worry about a kicking situation for next year? Okay? Can we just get him a deal right now instead of trying to go through a whole kicker situation in the offseason again? I mean, for crying out loud, there was anybody who watched the game yesterday, he had that graphic. I wish I would have saved it, or wish I would have snapshot it on the TV, but it was like last year to the first few weeks of this season, the field goal percentage for Green Bay, it was like awful. And then since then, when McManus came in, it's like one of the best ones. Just re-sign the guy. Okay? Just re-sign it so we don't have to go through this again. But they're, looking at a lot of the positives here. There's few far in between in it. There's no question about it. Malik Heath, if we want to, I think that guy maybe deserves, he hasn't gotten a ton of opportunities behind some of these wide receivers, but what a play from him yesterday to keep that drive going that led to the touchdown for the Packers to get back into it there too. But, I think if we're really looking at some of the positives in this thing, you're going to see some more from the defensive side of things over there. And another telling thing, I think, Now that we know like Jair's done for the year, he was placed on injured reserve. Eric Stokes played just a handful of snaps yesterday. Like that guy is in the doghouse. He's barely getting any playing time. With no Jair, the Packers elected to put Oladapo, their rookie safety, a late pick. He got extended playing time at safety. Then Javon Bullard, Keyshawn Nixon, they kept on the outside. Carrington Valentine over there. Bullard at the slot, at the nickel. It's like they're really trying not to get 21 on the field. He is in the doghouse. His time in Green Bay, as soon as this season's over with, sure looks like it's done. It's over with. I mean, the fact I'll be honest with you, I kind of didn't even think about it till it was like halfway through the game, and I think somebody had said, he hasn't logged a snap yet. I'm like, you're right. Then we kind of saw him towards the end there, but boy, what I don't know if that injury, and I feel bad because he did suffer a very bad lower leg injury in Detroit a couple years ago. And you have to wonder, has that affected his play, if that's really kind of taken his toll? I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, this is finally a year that he's been active, every single game. Hasn't played a ton of snaps, but thought maybe as he turned a corner, tried to get back last year, wasn't able to do it. You feel bad if it's an injury that's kind of derailed it and such, but man, it sure seems like. And I saw Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic, tweet out yesterday too. When they talked to Jeff Hafley, and anybody who's listened to Packers defense coordinator Jeff Hafley and his pressers and such, he's a guy that goes into details in his answers. So he's not like a Tom Clements where he's very short and to the point sort of thing. But when they talk about Eric Stokes, or when he's asked about Eric Stokes, he's pretty brief. So, I mean, that guy must really, really be in the doghouse right now. So it's disappointing, and it stinks for that guy because I thought, his rookie year, if you go back a few years, he was kind of thrown in to a starter role right away. You had injuries, and then he got extended play time. I thought he had a solid rookie year. But second year is when he got hurt in that Lions game, and it just kind of fell down off of that. Fell off of that. So it's a shame. It's a shame. But offensively, I think is where we've got a lot of our question marks and issues with this team as we get set for the postseason here. I don't think there's much concern or question marks surrounding Josh Jacobs and essentially the running game. I mean, I thought Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks seems to be like a nice little, and it's interesting too if you've watched these last few games with Chris Brooks, number 30 in your programs, they've kind of utilized him as a little bit of a fullback role too. When they have like two running backs in the backfield, he's kind of been utilized as a fullback, but he's carved out a nice niche, I think, for this team. Now, I don't know what his future is going to be like. They got Marshawn Lloyd. They invested a high draft pick in him. He's going to be part of the rotation next year. So who's going to be the odd man out? Is it going to be Wilson? Is it going to be Chris Brooks? I don't know. But I give a little bit of a tip of the cap to Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks yesterday for running the ball hard and such. And I don't think there's much concern with the running game. Josh Jacobs, obviously after Watson and Love went out, like, okay, we're going to pull Josh out of here too. We don't need to suffer another injury and such. The biggest question mark is, where's this passing game right now for Green Bay? And I know Jordan Love didn't play a complete game yesterday, but I get this feeling, and I don't know if anybody else is like this. Jordan Love has done a very good job of taking care of the football these last few weeks. It's been kind of a tale of two different halves. First half of the season, maybe a little reckless, maybe a little bit more of a risk taker, throwing the ball down the field, led to some interceptions. Second half, it's been taking care of the football better, but it just feels like, has that come at a cost where maybe they're not pushing the ball down the field as much, or maybe not being a little bit more aggressive, and really not being much of a risk taker throwing the ball down the field. It's just the feeling I get. It's, thinking back after these last few games, and really when you look at Jordan Love's yards per throw. So if you look at this yards per attempt, let me bring this up here because I was looking at it last night. Yeah, his average. So I mean, Chicago just 12 attempts, 7 of 12, 5.8 yards. Minnesota, 19 of 30, 6.2. New Orleans, 16 of 28, 6.5. So I mean, you're talking about a completion percentage. Only once in those couple games was he over 60%. I mean, even in the New Orleans game when they won 34-0, I mean, he was just 16 of 28 and 6.5 yards per average. Now, Seattle, yeah, 20 of 27, 74%, 8.5 and such. But it just, I don't know. Especially in that Minnesota game, we talked about it last week. There really wasn't a threat. It felt like a downfield threat. And they're like, okay, is this the loss of Christian Watson? Not having him out there. And I know he left the game early yesterday too. It feels like, is it turned into a little bit of a conservative passing attack right now? And I know Matt LaFleur talked about the passing game after the game yesterday and acknowledged that, yeah, it's not going really well. And, they got to figure this thing out. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's just straight up that it's Christian Watson not being able to go out there. Is it a little bit of, Love trying to take care of the football so he's not being as risky or not willing to take some of those chances throwing the ball down the field and that? But I don't know. There's something that's missing from this passing game. And Love was asked about it too. Jordan Love after the game said that he needs to be, quote, great with accuracy, ball placement, and everything. And then when he was asked in a follow-up, what does he think he is with that stuff right now? And he answered, inconsistent. I would agree with that. I think a lot of people would agree with that. So it's just something's not right with this passing attack. And part of me it feels like, are they playing it a little too safe? And then you factor in drops. You factor in drops. This team has had issues with ball security and holding on to the football. The wide receivers, whether it's been Reed or Watson or Kraft or Dobbs or whatever, Wicks, they've all had I feel like every wide receiver's had some issues with the dropsies at some point this season. So obviously that's not going to do your passing game any favors. But it's frustrating. Like LaFleur said after the game, it hasn't been good. It's extremely frustrating right now, he said. And you're going in, and I got to imagine, Philadelphia, I don't know what the defensive game plan that Vic Fangio is going to full on come up with in this thing. But if it were me, if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator preparing for Green Bay, I'm preparing to slow down number 8, Josh Jacobs, take away the running game, and at this point, make Green Bay throw it. I'm gonna try to make Green Bay throw it until they can prove that they can have a consistent passing game, until they can prove that they can hit some big plays. I'm trying to stop the run and forcing the ball into Jordan Love's hands and putting the pressure on the young receivers. I'd like to see a little bit more from Tucker Kraft, get him involved in the game plan more. I know Jane Reed had the fumble and such yesterday, but getting the ball into your playmakers' hands. Romeo Dobbs. I mean, Christian Watson's by all accounts not going to play for the Philly game. So Dobbs, Wicks, Kraft, Reed, they've got playmakers, right? I don't think it's a question of whether they don't have any talent there. And I know they're still young. Are they going through some sophomore stuff or whatever? But enough with the excuses. Got to go out there and ball. Got to go out there and win the game. They've got guys out there. It's just it ain't working right now. And I don't know if it's, again, the mindset of like, okay, I got to stop turning the ball over. They're playing a little bit safer, not taking in as much risks down the field. Who knows? But I got to imagine Vic Fangio and the Eagles are going to go in this thing, especially with their defensive front led by Jalen Carter up there. They're going to try to take away Josh Jacobs. They're going to stuff that run. And they're going to say, all right, Jordan Love, go beat us with your arm. Show us what you got. I'm challenging my receivers this week. I'm challenging those guys to step up and lead this way, because for me, in my opinion, for Green Bay to win this game, that passing game is going to have to be on. They're going to have to be able to move the football through the air, just because I'm assuming they're going to try to stop that run. They're going to have to be able. Luke Musgrave, everybody. I forgot to mention him a little bit earlier. I'm challenging my tight ends and my receivers this week. And I'm challenging my quarterback to be great. Because to answer the question that I threw out there at the beginning, what's my biggest concern heading into this postseason? If we throw health out of it, because that's everybody's concern, injuries are always the number one concern for everybody. But if I throw health out of it, my biggest question mark is going to be the passing offense of Green Bay. I think the run defense, a lot of people are probably going to pick the run defense, and I get it. I understand it. Saquon Barkley, top rusher this year. In my opinion, should get some. I hope he gets serious MVP consideration. Green Bay's run defense has been solid. I think they've been better than what people kind of give them credit for. But let's be real. This is a huge test. Okay, this is a huge test for this run defense. You want to prove that the run defense is in fact better, is in fact a top 10 unit like the numbers show. Here you go. You're going up against Barkley, the number one running back in the league. You want to prove that it's not a fluke? You got your matchup. You got it. And that's where I look at, again, 56, Edgerrin Cooper. Not to get too much into, previewing the game and such, because we got all week to do that. But for the rookie linebacker, this may be a huge game for him. Huge game for Edgerrin Cooper. For all the stuff that we've been praising for him, and just, to me, he's got the best instincts of any linebacker on this Packers team right now. This is a huge game for him. For the Packers to slow down Saquon Barkley in that running attack, 56. A lot that's got to come from 56. But we'll have more on that throughout the week here. What else is your concerns heading into this thing? From what you saw yesterday, I mean, again, I think it's stop stepping on yourselves. Stop shooting yourselves in the foot. It's decisions like clock management stuff. It's fundamental stuff. That's another thing. Like for me, going into this thing, and I know some of these guys got experience last year going up against the Cowboys and the 49ers and such, and I know they're still the youngest team in the NFL. Okay? They don't have a ton of experience. But it's just fundamental stuff. Holding on to the football. Not, understanding the clock situation, understanding what's going on in the game. Fundamental stuff. Stop shooting yourselves in the foot. It's been a thing. It's been a theme all season long. And as the great as the great Apollo Creed said in Rocky III, there is no tomorrow. So you can't get away with doing some of the stupid stuff that they've been doing and picking up a win against Philadelphia. There's no tomorrow. Do or die. They're going to have to play an incredibly clean game and hope, beyond hope, that some of the stupid stuff, some of the fundamental stuff that they've been lacking at various points this year doesn't rear its ugly head on the road in Philadelphia. We'll have more again with later on in the week about key matchups and such, and because I think a big one's going to be the Packers' offensive line going up against that front against Philly. But there's a lot to dissect with this matchup. But we'll spread it out here. So your biggest question marks for this team now as we head into the postseason. We'll take a quick break and we'll take a look at the rest of the NFC or the rest of the NFL playoffs coming up in just a few minutes. At Carpet City Flooring Center, they know that the right flooring can change everything, whether it's the cozy feel of a new carpet in your living room or the timeless elegance of luxury vinyl planks in your dining area. Your floors set the stage for life's moments. Their team of experts are there to help you with so much experience and a passion for finding the perfect flooring for your style and needs. From the latest trends to the classic designs, they offer a wide selection of carpets, laminate, and luxury vinyl, and they can even help you with remodeling your shower too. They help you with that as well. Plus, I just saw on Facebook last night these sweet vents. Like if you're redoing the floors, they got these sweet vents that like match your floors. Go check out their Facebook page over there. It's pretty cool looking over there. I got to find out some more info on that. Hey, and when it comes to installation, they got you covered. Their professional installers ensure every detail is handled with care. So all you have to do is enjoy your beautiful new space. Stop by Carpet City Flooring Center today and let them help you bring your vision to life. Because at Carpet City, it's more than flooring. It's where life happens. I like that. Yeah. Visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. A couple messages here. Travis on X/Twitter says, I think the biggest question mark is Love's throwing accuracy, not counting quarterbacks with 1 to 2 starts. Love ranks 38th in accuracy. Some had to do with drops, but he also misses plenty of routine throws. I would agree with that. There's a few times too where it's not every time, but and I don't want to make it sound like it's like every throw, but there's a few times too that I think we can all picture him. It's like he's doing a little Jordan Kobe fadeaway, throwing off the back foot. I think we can all picture a couple throws like that. And yes, he's made some of them, but I guess from a fundamental standpoint, I don't know if it's not the best way to be like doing your Kobe or Jordan fadeaway impressions when you're playing quarterback in the NFL. It's cool when it works and it makes to a big play, but from a fundamental standpoint, no, it's not always the right play over there. We had Brian on our video stream also saying biggest concern is execution. Special teams coverage was terrible. Defensive scheme on the second to last play was terrible. Offense, as we have to convert open passes. Hopefully, this was a good wake up call. Maybe it is better we lost than smoked the Bears and went into Philly cocky. I guess that's the positive way to look at it, right, Brandon? Or right, Brian? I mean, it's a positive way to look at it. I mean, Xavier McKinney wasn't really mincing words in the locker room afterwards. And Matt LaFleur said that there were some the guys in the locker room now, nobody really kind of said exactly what was said, but Matt LaFleur said that in the locker room that players had, quote, some strong words in the locker room post game after the loss. And Xavier McKinney pretty much said, he kind of called out his teammates, said individually, we gotta do better. We gotta ask ourselves, what do we want? And kind of said it's been the same stuff every single week. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it was a wake up call, but from everything after the Minnesota game, you had Josh Jacobs saying, think we figured it out, what we got to do and all that. I would have thought maybe the Minnesota one would have been a wake up call, but I don't know. I don't know. That's tough. Taking a look at the rest of the NFL playoffs here. So had a little bit of movement yesterday. I mean, the teams that we thought were going to be in it, thought would clinch, did in fact clinch. So if you didn't see the schedule last night as it was released during Sunday Night Football between the Vikings and the Lions last night, playoffs will start this Saturday. Brandon and I actually nailed the Saturday games, so all right. But the wild card round will begin with Chargers visiting the Houston Texans. Chargers are actually favored by 3 in this game. So that's your first game, and then the nightcap is going to be Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Saturday, you've got Denver visiting Buffalo, Green Bay at Philadelphia, Washington at Tampa Bay for the nightcap, and then Monday night will feature Minnesota on the road taking on the Rams of Los Angeles. So if we have some Vikings fans, I know we do, and It's okay. You can chime in if you would like. But are you a little bit nervous going to the Rams and taking on the Rams? I know when we were talking with Brandon on Friday, one of our Vikings fans here, he said that was kind of the one team he did want to go face, was going on the road and facing the Rams. So what's your if we got any more, let me know. Hit me up. Today is also a day too in the NFL where we're gonna probably see more teams letting go of their coaches. Yesterday we already had one right away. Patriots letting go of Gerard Mayo, and it sure seems like Vrabel. I mean, that's the easy connection there. Is Mike Vrabel going back to the Patriots where he spent the majority of his playing career. That just I saw one report too because Vrabel had interviewed with the Jets, and that was kind of one report out there said that was a move by Vrabel to kind of make the Patriots make a move right away if that is in fact where he wants to go and such. So, I mean, obviously the Patriots have to follow the rules with all their interviews and such, but that seems like kind of a perfect connection there. We'll find out about other coaches probably today, whether it's going to be, like the Jaguars. Colts already said they're bringing back their coaching staff and Steichen and that. So, but there's going to be more openings, and this is also a week too where some coaches who especially have the bye weeks, so like the Lions, they can do some Zoom interviews. So Ben Johnson is probably going to get some interviews, but I would throw in. I know he's talked about before, and he has been interviewed for head coaching jobs before. But if I'm a team looking for a head coach, I'm talking to Aaron Glenn too, because I think what Aaron Glenn now Ben Johnson gets a ton of credit, and rightfully so. And when you think about the Detroit Lions, and you think about that team, you think about their offense, and you think about the points and what Jared Goff, the resurrection of his career, and all that. Rightfully so. But you look at some of the injuries that the Lions have gone through, especially on the defensive side, and you look at how this unit has played, and you look at what they did last night. Aaron Glenn deserves some credit too for the job that he has done as defensive coordinator for the Lions. I think, if I'm a team, I'm at least putting him on my list to interview because I think he kind of gets, Dan Campbell gets a lot of attention and rightfully so. Ben Johnson gets a lot of attention and rightfully so. Then you talk about some of the players, and then you got Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator over there. I think he has done a very, very good job this year, considering too a lot of the injuries that this team has had. So, as a Packers fan, take them. I want other teams to hire those guys. Take them away. Take them away. Like Brian Flores in Minnesota, take them away. I know there was a Jay Glazer report yesterday that had said that teams were going to at least attempt to call the Vikings and see if they were interested in trading for Kevin O'Connell. But the Vikings came out, according to Pro Football Talk, and said that they've got no interest in trading for him. And a lot of that was based off of the fact that he's got an expiring contract, only 1 year left on it and such. But I don't think the Vikings would be that stupid to trade him and such, especially this early in his coaching career. So, but if anybody wants to hire Brian Flores, go please do so. Okay, please do so. All right, we got a couple minutes left to the top. We'll talk some more football. Keep your thoughts coming. I'll get to the texting line coming up in the next hour here. But your biggest concern, biggest question mark that you have for this Packers team as we are now getting set for the postseason, heading on over to Philadelphia. Philly resting a lot of guys. Could they have a little rust? Could they be going up against a annoyed Packers team? Could that benefit Green Bay going up against a Philly team that rested some peeps? There's examples all over. But what are your thoughts? All right. I want to hear from you. So we'll get to that. It is also, I'm not saying, but I am just saying Monday, fill in the blank, best ones. We'll get read off on the air. Make them appropriate. I know a few times we've had inappropriate ones, but make it's all fun and game. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Hit me up with that. We'll get to some hoops chat here a little bit later on. Badgers record-setting night on Friday night. Bucks struggling right now, too. We'll do some local sports roundup as well. I know the WIAC conference action began over the weekend. Blue Gold men's basketball jumped out to a lead against La Crosse in the first half, couldn't hold on to it in the second half. So their 8-game winning streak snapped. But the women's team picked up a win against La Crosse at Sonotag Center this past weekend here, too. So lots to catch up on for our local sports roundup. We'll have JC Nisi, Justice Cleveland, joining us for that to help us break it all down here. So I actually got, can I bring it up here? Do I have enough time? I could do a couple of texts here before the shot clock gets over here. So B's mom here. My prediction is Eagles will win 30-17. Our nemesis are slow starts and leaving the middle of the field wide open. Josh says if you had watched your first football game, if you had just watched your first football game and you watched that game, you would have thought both teams were evenly matched. My confidence level is low. All right, we'll get to some more texts coming up here in just a little bit, too. Keep them coming, though. 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back after these news updates. Hour 2. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning of January 6th. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however, you are tuning in this morning, broadcasting from the TDS Sports Talk studios. We've got JC in the EC, Justice Cleveland, with us. Good day, sir. Good morning. So, how was your holiday break?
It was great.
It was good.
Great.
Yeah.
Spent it with family over on the other side of the state, and
Mm-hmm.
good times. Kids had a blast. So
Back in the regular swing of things now.
I
Back
guess
at school on Monday, first one in a while too.
Yeah.
So
goes by. The holiday season goes by so fast, and I think this year so fast because of the late Thanksgiving too. It was like you blink and it was over.
Exactly. And we were talking a little bit off the air. It still feels like we shouldn't be 18 weeks through the NFL season.
No.
I mean, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that we were talking about Packers, Eagles, and Brazil, and here we are talking about them in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
In this matchup.
And we're hoping not bookending the season with a start in Philadelphia or against Philadelphia and an end at Philadelphia.
You know, so continue to send us your texts. We couple here really quick. Mark says, I have no stats to back it up. It seems like our O-line has been slipping in pass protection the last few weeks. Also, special teams, kick coverage teams were terrible yesterday. Passing game needs Watson. These other receivers can't get separation. Good return by the Bears. Plus the 15-yard horse collar. They didn't have to gain much ground to kick a 51-yarder. Also, we've got, where was this? Smuck says, yes, and I know you'll appreciate this one too, Justice, but yes, Love does throw off his back foot way too much and is no threat to run. I know you've talked about that quite a bit, throwing off the back foots.
Yeah.
With Love.
I mean, to look at this game, it felt like a team that didn't know exactly what they wanted to do with this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't know. They knew that they won. They would get that 6. Well, they could get the 60. They wasn't guaranteed. But they also played like a team that knew they were in the playoffs and didn't want to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like they were never fully, until the end maybe,
right,
into this game, like a team that really wanted the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel that's just from an observer outside. It just looked like Chicago wanted this game more and needed this game more than the Packers did, which in truth, the Packers probably needed it more than Chicago did.
Mm-hmm.
But it just never felt like there was never any flow to this game. And I granted you get the injury, the 2 injuries,
right,
and that kind of messed things up a little bit too. But even from the start, and we've talked about slow starts with this team, and it was another one of just not.
Yeah,
there's no urgency really with the way they're playing games, and they know they can come back because they have the weapons, but you can't do that. I mean, you do that against Philadelphia, and it's going to be a very short postseason for the Packers.
I thought defensively they played well, especially at the beginning. I thought they had a lot of energy, right away, holding them. I wasn't like after the first quarter, Bears still had -4 yards or something like that.
Yep.
But then, I thought they played well enough up until that last, and we're going to get to that too, because I loved your screenshot on the X for that final passing play there too. But yeah, like offensively, again, another slow start. Like, what's going on with the passing game right now? It's kind of, I almost get the sense is like, are they being too passive? Where like, the first half of the season was the talk was Jordan Love and turnovers and interceptions. Now he hasn't thrown any turnovers, but is it being a little too careful and not risky? And it's going back and forth with this thing, it seems like.
It really does seem tough. And I think you got a team that's built right now. I mean, it has the tools for passing, but their game plan is running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But what's been happening in the last couple of games? They're falling behind right away.
Yeah.
So it's hard to really, they're not. You watch it in high school anytime. Is that there are teams that are just built to run.
Right.
And when they do that and then they fall behind and you're still going to try to build to run, then it's really tough to battle back. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem, it feels like they haven't been able to run the game plan like they've wanted to. And then when they start passing, it's, after a while there, but they're still sticking to the runs. It's really, you're right. I think maybe they have been a little more passive, but then again, you see some of the, making that throw. I don't know if it was to Musgrave or Kraft where he threw it a triple coverage and tried to make it a jump ball. So it really seems like a team that maybe the injuries have caused this, and maybe it's just, trying to be that run first team hasn't been maybe as explosive as we kind of expected it to be. And you can't discount the weather for a game like that. Both teams are playing in the weather, but it's hard in those those, when it's in the teens and even, the wind chills below that,
Mm-hmm.
to really gas up that passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Just to throw the ball in that temperatures can be rough.
I feel like they've got to figure out a way to, if they're going to Philadelphia, to get back to what they were doing with those, opening it up with a 6-7 minute drive, focusing a lot on the run, having success running the ball, getting a touchdown, right? Not playing from behind right away. But I got to imagine Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator for the Eagles, is going to be like, or if I'm a defensive coordinator preparing for Green Bay at this point, I'll be like, okay, we're going to stop Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, you try to beat us then.
Yeah. And we've seen teams try to do that before. And I think Love is obviously capable of beating them. And they have that. Even without Christian Watson, you still have the tools, if you execute right, to be able to beat a team throwing the ball. But obviously, you're still going to try to get Josh Jacobs, and Jacobs is still going to get his yards. I mean, that man is, the vision he has getting to that line is probably as good as I've seen. So I think, obviously, you're right. I think your keys with Philadelphia are going to be, you got to get that early lead, or at least match. If Philadelphia, you can't fall behind big, 10, 14 points. I don't know if they have, against the Philadelphia team, the ability to battle back from something like that. So, and then that last play.
Yeah. I know Matt LaFleur had something about, it's like 12 seconds for a team to make a completion and all, and to spike it and such, but they weren't prepared for a 15-yard, whatever it was. It was a weird excuse.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, the Bears haven't gassed you all day deep.
Right.
So why on the last, basically what's going to be the last play from scrimmage before a field goal attempt, are they going to try to go deep? Maybe, the only thing you could think is like, well, they have nothing to lose, so but they're not doing that. They were still trying to, all they had to do is get 15 yards to get in a field goal. So it just didn't make any sense why you're playing that far off the ball. There's there's other screenshots where it's from the snap, and you can't even see the Packer players in the frame. They're playing it like it's a Hail Mary.
Right.
Which I don't understand that.
I don't know if the mindset was, which I still wouldn't agree with this. I'm trying to get in the mindset of it. Were they prepared for that and then catch and just like letting them try to run because they didn't have a timeout and then time would expire? But I don't know. But that's still even stretching it.
Yeah, maybe goading them into throwing something.
Right. And so they're running around, and then by the time they get up and snap at the game, that's a stretch though too. Like I don't know if I want to do that either.
And we've seen, and that's probably been the weakest part at times of the Packers defense, is the middle of the field.
Yes.
And that maybe is more of a compliment to the way the corners have stepped up at times to be able to defend these receivers on the outside. But the middle of the field has been a liability against a lot of these big teams.
Yeah.
And the Bears, you saw it right there. Everything worked well for the Bears, even though they got a penalty too. So, it was just
the horse collar. And that's actually the kickoff return. The Bears started at the 20 because that's when they tried to do the reverse.
Right.
And then guy slipped and Carrington was there. But yeah, then the horse collar with Enoch Barre there, which was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. You saw it, and as soon as it happens, oh, that's not good.
No. And the rest is history at that point. So
yeah, it's just it was a bad loss because they just looked lost the whole game. Again, the injuries kind of threw a little bit of a bug in it, everything, but they just didn't look like a team that was determined to get that win. They looked like a team that was half playing a regular season game and half playing a preseason game. And maybe that's what it was. They didn't want to show too much, but again, you have a chance to get a 6 seed and improve your playoff stock. You almost should play that as a win or go home kind of feeling, but they did. I don't think they did. That's just my. I'm sure there's guys in the locker room would disagree with the way I'm assessing it, but it just from the outside looking in, that's what it looked like.
And the fact that Jordan apparently could have went back in, sort of stuff, kind of maybe was part of that too. It's like, because you're right, because it felt like they couldn't figure out. Maybe at times, okay, are we going to actually try?
Are we going all in?
Yeah.
Jordan, have Jordan come back in on this.
Right. Because then when they pull Josh Jacobs, it's like, you're not going all in.
Right.
And I thought Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks still did a good job. But when you pull out your top one after all those injuries, it's like, okay, we're not going to go all in at that point.
And you still got all your defensive guys out there.
That's true. Yeah. So it was really.
Yeah. It was just, like I said, it was a 50-50 game of, we want to win this game, but we don't want to get hurt. And I get it, because you got playoffs coming up, and the Christian Watson thing, probably that happening first probably changed up a lot of the mindset in that game. Like, oh, here we go. This is the last thing we needed to do in this game. because we're in the game, we're in the tournament already. This is the last thing we wanted was him getting hurt.
And I thought it was kind of telling too when LaFleur said if Romeo would have been able to play, Watson probably wouldn't have played then.
Right.
Which then kind of tells you, it's like, okay, then were they trying to go for the win? You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's another example of like, were they trying to go for it?
You
Then?
can't
you know,
you know what, in the NFL, because teams will exploit that. And I feel like that's almost what they did in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe you should have, if you wanted to keep guys safe, I wouldn't have played Watson.
Right.
When you have a guy who's coming off injury, a couple of injuries, and obviously now, unfortunately, has another one coming up.
And probably going to affect his next season. So,
right. So it is just, it was a mess. And it's not the momentum you want going into the playoffs. That being said, now teams might be doubting the validity of this Packers team, and maybe you've got teams will get a little on, get them on off their heels a little bit and have a chance to go to Philadelphia and make some noise.
It's funny you say that because I just saw a poll question from another show out there that says, are the Packers the team everyone wants to play now in the NFC?
Right.
So,
after being the team that I think everybody wanted to avoid.
Right. Now it's like that, which was just a couple weeks ago was the talk. I think it was heading into that Minnesota game.
Right.
The team that nobody wants to play. And now 2 weeks later, it's like, well, now everybody
you see Tampa Bay come out and Baker playing the way they are, and a team that seems to be riding a momentum wave. Packers don't have that wave. That being said, if we'll see it this year, will this team put it all together for 4 quarters? I think this is you see this with teams that end up being great. And I'm not saying I don't know where this Packer team will be because I can't read the future, but you have that first season, and you can go back to the 90s, the Packers in 92. That first season where you kind of rise up, catch people by surprise, like, oh, this team's pretty good. The second season, people know that you're pretty good, and things get a lot harder. You learn from that second season, and then the success, I think, starts to roll if you can keep it together for the next couple of seasons. I feel like that's maybe where this Packers are youngest team in the NFL last year.
And this year too.
And they played so well last year. This year, playing great, but have taken their lumps, obviously, in the big games as well. And you hope that these younger players can learn from these moments and get to the point where they solidify as a solid team, and you have no better chance than this playoff game against Philadelphia, and show what you've learned from these losses against the elite, and then just a game you shouldn't have lost against Chicago.
This is going to be, I think, I think it's still in the minds of so many, Packers fans too, when you talk about rushing defense and defense overall. And right now, I mean, in terms of rushing defense, numbers tell us Green Bay's been pretty darn solid in stopping the run. They're a top 10 unit right now. They've only been giving up 99.4 yards per 99.4 yards per game on the ground. Well, here's the ultimate litmus test, isn't it? With Saquon Barkley coming in here. So, I mean, yes, a top 10 unit, and let's give them credit to where credit's due. But now I think because even last week we had a lot of people saying, yeah, the run defense. Well, numbers say they're top 10. And I do feel like, though, too, that doesn't tell the whole story, because a lot of times Green Bay would jump out to elite, so a team's trying to play catch up, so they may abandon the run a little bit. But this is a fantastic test to see how good this unit's going to. And I think a lot of that's going to be Edgerrin Cooper, because that linebacker play from him, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't remember another linebacker, and I don't want to crown him or anything like that, but the most instinctive linebacker we've seen this team have in a while, because there's been holes. I'm like, oh, crap. And all of a sudden 56 is there.
Yeah. He just has that sense to find where the guy's going to go. I think and it's just developed more and more. And we've seen the more time he gets on the field, the more you're just amazed at what he can do out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously the linebacker is going to be huge, because you also have Jalen Hurts. And we know what he can do with his feet. And that, having that 1-2 punch on the ground, that is going to be so hard to defend. And we've seen it the whole year, how hard it is to defend. So it's going to be the ultimate test to this defense, because it's really, I mean, what's going to open up more? You're going to get that linebacker going out on coverage. That middle is going to be there. Yeah. And as we've seen, teams like to exploit the Packers in the middle there. So these other guys are going to have to step up. You hope everybody that they can get healthy, can be out there on the field, because they're going to need that full complement.
That's why I want Quay Walker back for this game, just for the athleticism part of
Right.
it.
Oh, exactly. You're
Yeah.
going to need them, because you know, if you have one guy, you know, Cooper's going out,
Mhm.
you need somebody to be there that can also fill in that gap,
Right.
because it is going to be just, you're going to have to spy.
Mhm.
And it really, I mean, I have no doubt the Packers could go in there and win this game. I from what we've seen from this team all year. But man, they really gonna have to show something early in that game and make a
Mhm.
statement, because if not, it could be a long contest in Philly.
I agree. I agree. What does it also say too? I mean, it was up until what, the final quarter, when Eric Stokes finally got on the field. I mean, that guy, I don't know if you saw it too, but like Matt Schneidman had a post about it. You know, anybody who's listened to Jeff Halfley's pressers, he's a detailed answer kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
And Schneidman pointed out, whenever he's been asked about Stokes, it's been pretty brief. And no Jair. So you see, yesterday they changed it up a little bit again, where Oladapo, their rookie safety, got extended playing time
right.
to allow Bullard to play that slot nickel, Nixon and Carrington on the outside. Then Eric Stokes must be in a doghouse right now. They don't trust him at all to be out there. And I don't know if it's just the injury, that lower leg injury he had a couple years ago in Detroit.
He lost the speed, maybe.
If there's something good, but man, I feel bad, but at the same time, to me, that tells you a lot when you're throwing in a rookie safety to get over a guy like Eric Stokes, who's been in the league for a few years and a former first round pick.
And with Stokes hasn't had a pass defense since his rookie year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a telling stat right there. I mean, I mean, that, you hate to say bust, but right now, I mean, that looks like a bust of a pick for the
Mhm.
Packers. And yeah, the fact that I think you're seeing a lot this season is Halfley figuring out, guys that you wouldn't expect to be out there, that he's saw in practice, that like, okay, this guy fits my position, my defense better than
Mhm.
he fit in the last defense, and them throwing him out there.
Yeah.
And I think, putting his statement on it, I think and maybe that's why we're not seeing as much, well, we saw, like a Preston Smith getting traded.
Mhm.
Kenny Clark. What are we getting from Kenny Clark this year?
Mhm.
Even, obviously Gary he's a Pro Bowler, but
Yeah, I think he's gotten better as of late, but obviously not racking up sack
right.
numbers.
So
that
it's
sort
like,
of stuff.
you've seen a lot more from a lot of these guys that you weren't expecting to hear
Right.
their name being called in this defense, because I think maybe they fit better in Halfley's vision of what the defense is. So I think
Mhm.
Stokes is another one of those guys that just doesn't fit, and maybe doesn't have the skills anymore to fit in this defense.
And I think that further complicates what to do with Jair.
Right.
Because I know he's got the non-guaranteed salary, which they could move on from him, and you're still going to take a dead cap hit, but you could potentially move on after him. But I mean, the fact that you're going to need another corner with him regardless, does that further complicate? Like, okay, maybe we should keep him for another year.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do at this point.
I mean, you gamble and go and try to get somebody. You're basically going to do the same, just try to replace him with somebody of equal value. But Jair on the field and healthy is an amazing athlete, but we haven't seen that in the last basically year and a half.
Mhm.
And since the suspension, it's been,
Yeah.
I think that lingers so long too, is not only the on the field antics, but it's the technically off the field, but they were on the field because he went on for the. It's like, how much are you willing to put up with? I think he's a fun guy to interview in the locker room. I actually enjoy his personality, because it's just something different. But when he's not playing and not playing up to standard, I think, teams are quick to move on for people that they see potential headaches with. And I don't know. It'll be an interesting decision in the offseason. I say you might as well try to keep him, because if you get him back to that level that he can play at, you've got yourself one of the better cornerbacks in the league.
Because it sounds like, at least right now, with that knee surgery, I mean, if they went on a run, they're saying he could play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like it's a long-term issue with the knee, with the PCL. So, that at least, I think you factor into it. And that was a fluke thing too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's running and literally you see him hobbling after he's like dead sprint in an end zone. Whereas those types, I mean, you can't really prepare for when it comes to a knee ligament.
And
So,
fun, thing with the quarterback is you need to be able that full sprint ability.
yeah.
And you're going to be up against some of these wide receivers. Look at who's out there in these playoffs. You can't have him out there only being able to go 75. It doesn't work.
Right.
It's not like you might be able to hide it a little bit with a slot receiver or something like that, where he can go out there and still find some separation. Well, the problem is your job is to stop separation, and if you can't go 100% as a cornerback, good luck out there.
Yep, exactly. Really quick before we got to take a break, we do have another coach that was let go. Doug Peterson has been let go by the Jaguars, but they're keeping their GM, Trent Baalke, who's kind of had some going back to the 49ers days. Him and Harbaugh never really saw eye to eye, it felt like, towards the end there. And there's a lot of that. So that's what always makes me nervous with teams. Like, oh, we're going to keep this guy that seems like a lot of people don't have a whole lot of.
It's surprising that Peterson actually made it this far this season by how and, I don't know what his coaching career is going to be.
Yeah.
He's going to have that Super Bowl title, and somebody will probably give him another chance. And even like the first year with the Jags didn't look.
They went to the postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the sustainability he hasn't been able to find with these teams. So I don't know. I mean, if he'll get another chance or not.
I think he'll have another job probably with Andy Reid.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. It's
he'll go back there in some role or something like that. So I'm sure Reid will find a spot for him.
Reid's probably going to lose somebody in the shuffle of the coaching at some point.
I don't know if anybody will hire Matt Nagy over there, but Reid will find somebody or find a spot for Doug Peterson.
Or somebody that's from that coaching tree is going to look at Doug Peterson and say, this guy's found ways to do things. So
absolutely. Really quick, we have Big Worm says, I believe Watson just punched his ticket out of Green Bay with the amount of drops he's had, along with him not being able to stay healthy. On the last play, something we already talked about, but on the last play, why would Hafley play a too high safety look? And what's worse is Bullard and McKinney are standing on that 20-yard line. I don't feel good at all going into the playoffs. Love the show. So,
yeah, it's hard to have a lot of confidence after that performance. And you just got to think back to knowing that, again, I feel like this team is capable of so much more. And they just haven't put it together for 4. There you go. There's your saying for the capable for more. Haven't put it together for 4.
I felt like last week, after that Minnesota game, I was like, I could see this team being one and done, but put together a couple wins in the post. I don't know what version is going to show up.
They got to change people's minds. I mean, that's what you got to do is go into Philadelphia. And we've seen this team.
Are you saying they should do the Badger basketball 2014-15? Make them believe?
Make them believe. That's what they got to do, because no one right now, I mean, I hate this, like, no one believed in us. I mean, I think they're not quite at that level of if they were like 7-10 going into the playoffs and like some team that no, this is a team that can win, and people know they can win. It's just hasn't been putting it together.
No. All right, we'll take a quick break here. We got plenty more, some local sports roundup as well. Speaking of the Badgers record night Friday night at the Kohl Center too. So we'll talk some hoops as well. Flying on by here in the second hour, we've got JC and EC. Hey, really quick, want to remind you, looking for great food and a welcoming atmosphere, stop by the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, serving up delicious meals from their amazing breakfast menu to many delicious options on their lunch and dinner menu that will keep you coming back for more. Whether you're dining with friends, family, or fellow veterans, they're open to everyone. And if you're looking for a place to hold your event, they're your go-to place as well. So the next time you're trying to figure out your next stop for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, make a stop at the VFW Post 305, located 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Hoops wise, before we get to a little local sports roundup, tip of the cap to the Badger basketball team.
Yeah.
And a phrase that I know you always like to say: they can win any game, they can lose any game. I like it when they can dominate a Fran McCaffrey team a little bit there. But most points at the Kohl Center scored by a Badger team, 116, 21 three-pointers made by this Badger basketball team too. I almost got a feeling with this team too, what we were just talking about with the Packers, like I could see them being out, one and done, winning a few games here. I get the same sense with this Badger basketball team a little bit. If it makes sense. I mean, like, I feel like they could be a player in the Big Ten, but then, you know, you have a couple games like they did, you know, in that stretch after Marquette and all that big win against Arizona, and then you lose to was it Illinois?
Illinois and Michigan,
Yeah.
for the two Big Ten losses.
Mm-hmm.
It is a weird team. I mean, again, you start 10-0, was it?
Yeah.
And then you lose 3 in a row, and now you come back and just dominate an Iowa squad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different Wisconsin group, obviously, when teams are putting up 116 points. It's not the Badger teams that you're used to. This Badger team's been scoring a lot more than we've seen, but I think that's also maybe a credit to Greg Gard because he's adapting.
Mm-hmm.
The days, you know, I loved it, but the Dick Bennett toss it around until the shot clock's almost done.
Mm-hmm.
I think those days are gone because you need more possessions.
Yeah.
And if you're going to keep up with these teams, because these other teams, and I think that's the thing that Gard is showing. If another team's going to run it, they're going to run it back.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, you know, Iowa's trying to play the up-tempo game, and it worked to the Badgers' advantage because the more possessions the Badgers got, the more they were making shots. And again, it's all about making shots. And when you're making them at that clip, they were that you're not going to find many games like that. But to put up 115, I don't think I would have ever, you know, back in the day when they were, you know, the Grinnell run and gun teams that were that to see them put up that many points, I would
have thought it would have been like one of the Frank and Decker, one of, you know, 14, 15 teams, you know, over there.
But yeah, when I heard that, because I was out shooting basketball in front, and when I heard that final score, I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It floored me.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of shooting some basketball on Friday and such, let's do some local sports roundup here with JCNC. Now that the holidays are kind of over with, or I shouldn't say kind of over, they are over with over here. So not only did we have like Big Ten Badgers getting into conference play, we had WIAC getting into conference play. Would the same about high school too? Kind of really getting into conference play at this point in time?
I think this week really more. I think teams were still kind of doing a lot of the non-conference, but we had, you know, some big conference matches, big rivers, both the Memorial women or boys and girls played Hudson, both battling for first place in the conference. And then you saw them both come out with victories, and both those old Abe teams are so deep.
Yeah.
And still got a, you know, younger talent that's going to be there the next couple of years. So, and the big rivers, they've been a lot of fun to watch there. And I believe Memorial's got a big matchup with Rice Lake this week on both sides as well.
Wow.
2 Rice Lake teams that have been playing well, you know, Shepley with the girls team there. And yeah, there should be some couple of good matchups there between those two teams.
Absolutely. Hockey as well.
Yes.
Kind of, I mean, was it just a couple days ago? Was it Memorial and Superior were going at it?
Yes, they got the win 3-2 in overtime. Mac Diggins, one of my favorite names, getting 2 goals in that one there. So, yeah, I mean, that team has played some tough competition the last month. I was looking it up because they played Spash. They went Hudson Spash, and they played Detroit Mercy, Detroit Catholic Mercy, one just a really good school from Michigan, and that was over at the Pier. So, I mean, they have played some really high-level competition, taking their lumps on some of them, but, you know, battled back here to get a couple of wins here, and then they will get Eau Claire North this week. I'm not sure which day that is. I have it written on my schedule here, but I believe that is Thursday, yes,
Okay.
is the North Memorial game. So that's always just a fun going on. You get the inner city rivalry there. And we can't forget about Ram hockey and just the great play that team has been putting out there every week in and week out, ranked highly now in the state. And they got a matchup against Hayward coming up on Thursday. So they look to keep rolling it out there as well.
I gotta go back to basketball because I gotta give a shout out to our good buddy Paul Henricks, who got his 200th career win, combination with Augusta and Altoona, right? With his 200th career win, but 200th career win as a Rails head coach.
Yeah, I was, had a chance to go watch them play a little bit on Friday with that game, and didn't know he was going for 200 there, but yeah, congratulations to him. Got a nice phone call after that telling us about it. Yeah, that's not easy to do, and that just shows the durability and. It's a lot to be a head coach in this day and age in high school sports, and he's good at it, one of the best, and just continues to roll.
Well, considering too, not only that, I know he officiates football in the fall, does some baseball. He's always been, and then he's a big demolition derby guy too in the summer. So
see, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. He I don't know if he'll like me saying this. He told me one time he gets really pumped up for the demolition derby.
Oh,
so
I'm
you have to add, that's when his juices really get going. So next time you see him,
that'll be my next intro will be head coach and demolition derby enthusiast.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
I love that.
Wrestling, is it kind of conference stuff here too? I know.
Yes, we're starting to kick back up. I know a lot of the teams are at holiday tournaments. I know there's a bigger one going on. There's a couple of holiday tournaments this weekend going on around the area as well. Menominee's having one of them. So yeah, they did a lot of those holiday tournaments here the last couple of weeks, but they'll get back into duels and quads and
I know North, just the amount of numbers that they've got for both their men's and women's program there too. I mean, they're off to a fantastic start this year too,
we go next month and a half here, and then we'll it's a big stretch for all these teams because it's really one of the bigger stretches you'll get in the high school era, without holidays or anything really interrupting. All these teams are going to have be playing and competing just almost nonstop for the next month and a half.
Right. WIAC wise, Blue Gold basketball. So the boys, our men's team, excuse me, their 8-game winning streak got snapped. They were going up against 20th ranked lacrosse on the road. We're leading at the half, fell short in the second half, but I know because perfect timing for you too to get that with the Casper.
Yes.
No relation, but with the Casper almost from the logo halfway court game winning shot there too. But overall, this men's team, I know they're coming off of a loss right now, 8-4 on the season. But from the games I've watched in person to the games you've watched in person, the way I describe it, there just seems to be a different vibe. Is that the best way you would describe it?
They don't seem like a team that gets rattled too easily.
Yeah,
and they're able to withstand. Like I go back to the Carleton game because that was the one I was at on Tuesday, and Carleton had chances to kind of maybe pull away in that game and lead up to about 5, but they would lock down on defense and able to figure out a way to get back into it. And I think to have that winning streak they had, and then lacrosse, to go to lacrosse, a team that was 9-2 on the year and had won 3 straight going into it. That was a tough situation. You lose by 10, but take that one, and now you got was it Oshkosh?
Yes, yeah, I believe because
I should really know
They got Point, which is going to be a huge game coming up on the 25th.
Yeah, I got it right here. So yes, it is. So they have Oshkosh on Wednesday at Oshkosh, which will tougher place to go and make that road trip. One of the tougher road trips you're going to make,
right?
Because it's one of the longest ones. And then on Saturday you come back and you'll have River Falls, so kind of a local rivalry kind of game going like that. But that'll be their first one at home.
Yep.
So there you got a chance to show what you can do. But I go on the road, and if you get a win at Oshkosh, that would be huge, and then come back home and try to protect it. But I think looking up and down in the WIAC standings, and even throwing Stout in there, who got a big win, everybody's tough.
Yeah.
Stout's record might not show up, but they were winning. They had a 4-game winning streak, snapped at one of the tournaments they were at. So they've won like 5 or 6, something like that. So they're playing some of their best basketball as well. So on the men's side, battle every time. And it's going to be the same on the women's side. So
and the Blue Gold women's got a big win against
so I didn't even get a chance to mention that yet. Yeah, Tanya's team coming
Mhm.
out there and setting the statement right away at home against La Crosse. And again, that's a team that had played in a lot of different situations.
Mhm.
I had some big leads, let some big leads go. We're trailing and battled back. So talking to Tanya a couple of weeks ago, it's just like, yeah, this team's been through a lot,
Mhm.
and hope you always hope that that can translate into finding success in conference play. And she plays the toughest,
I was
one
gonna
of the
say
tough.
she's not afraid to schedule those tough games to
No,
begin the season.
so I think once this, it's a battle tested team once they get into conference play, and I think we saw that right away with that game.
Mhm.
And they got number 5 Oshkosh. I think Oshkosh was in the top 10 last
Mhm.
week, so that is going to be an ultimate test there on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I know the stout women's team just fell to Oshkosh, but by 10
Right,
only at Oshkosh there too. So,
and that was a team I think it was like 9-2 going into that, and that
mhm.
that team's just as tough. So I yeah, again, WIC basketball just the cream of the crop when it comes to D3 hoops.
I think so too because I'm looking at the standings here. I mean, you got Platteville that's 11-1 overall, Lacrosse 10-2 overall, Whitewater up there at 7-5, Stevens Point's 10-2.
Yeah.
Oshkosh 9-3, Eau Claire's 8-4. I
Right,
mean,
exactly. I
it's
mean, out of all you put those teams against anybody in the country,
mhm,
and they're competing, if not winning most of those games. So it's yeah, it's amazing what you're going to see in conference play, and expect some great games. And you hope get out to the Sonoteg and see these games and
mhm.
see it in a nice facility like that. It'll be
Yep.
fun.
Yeah, and it's the same on the women's side. Oshkosh is undefeated. Stevens Point has one loss. Whitewater has one loss. Stout's 9-3. Lacrosse is 8-4. River Falls 8-4, and then Eau Claire and Platteville are at 500 6-6 right
Right,
now.
and that
So,
that Eau Claire team's
mhm.
capable of being better than that in that
Oh yeah,
record wise. So yeah, I mean they're going to be jazzed for this chance to.
hmm
If you could hand Oshkosh, I mean, it's a rivalry with those teams that we've seen not only in the regular season but in the conference tournament.
hmm
So if they would have a chance to knock off and give them their first loss, oh, they're they got
hmm
their hands grinding at the chance at this victory here.
absolutely. All right, let's take our final break, and before we let JC go, we're gonna have him give us his prediction for Sunday.
Oh man,
Sunday, Sunday. All right. Plus, one team is keeping their coach. Giants keeping their head coach, Brian
oh.
Dayball. So, all right, quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. When it comes to fresh, quality meats, nobody does it better than Mike's Star Market. From hand-cut steaks and juicy burgers to premium brats and snack sticks, they've got everything you need to make your next meal unforgettable. Hey, and don't forget, hunters, they are your go-to place to drop off your game to get your meat processed. So stop by and give Mike's Star Market a visit, 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire. Mike, Sarah, and the entire staff there will meet you with a greeting and answer any questions you may have. Mike's Star Market, deliberately old-fashioned to assure quality and affordability. As we said before the break, the Giants are keeping their head coach. So really, the only two firings that we've had yesterday and today, Gerard Mayo and Doug Peterson, both being let go. Nothing yet on who would be the other ones. I guess Bengals, some people are throwing in there. It's not the Titans because they said they've got a presser tomorrow, end of the season presser with their head coach. So we already knew some of the openings out there already. So
Yeah.
maybe not as many as originally thought.
So Vrabel, it's got to be Vrabel to the Patriots. I feel like there's no other.
Yeah. I saw one report yesterday. I don't know if it was all on the up and up, but that the only reason, and this would be a complete page out of the Belichick book. The only reason he took the Jets interview was to force the hand of the Patriots to get nervous.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's so Belichick.
Oh, exactly.
You know, that's
everything
so
that guy
Belichick.
does is calculated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. But they're gonna have to. I feel bad because they're gonna have to do interviews the whole for the Patriots if they want Vrabel. They still gotta waste everybody's time, and and I feel bad for the people have to go in knowing that they're probably not going to get it.
Yeah, you're just being brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it looks good in the eye. Like you can get some optics of, hey, I was interviewed for this, and then when you got up for another job,
and maybe get to work on your interviewing skills or something like that. But
your agent probably telling you go take the interview because that'll drive up your price. If let's say Jacksonville,
that's true,
is going after you there. So
yep. Tom Pelissero just said Bears wasting no time have requested interviews with Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn for their head coaching interviews. So
we'll get them both.
Get them out of Detroit.
Yeah.
Get them out of the conference right now. So
I feel like if you're, let's say, like Ben Johnson, the Jacksonville job probably doesn't like.
Well, it was weird because last week they said that there was a report that he was interested in the Jacksonville job. Trevor Lawrence, and there was another connection there. But now that you're keeping the GM, I think probably takes it out of play. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Jacksonville goes and the Khan family will spend, and they're loyal. Like they don't usually fire guys,
right?
Unless you're
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, and it's just what I was gonna say. Unless you're really like going off in like midweek and hanging out with people.
Yeah,
but yeah, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. That Jacksonville team is such a hard team to figure out because it looks like they're finally figuring things out, and then they just can never put it together consecutive years.
Then I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. This feels like the Jason Garrett situation all over again, where his contract's expiring,
right?
So they don't have to fire him. Yet they're interviewing people at that time, Mike McCarthy and other people, while Garrett is still there.
Yeah,
I feel like that's another situation where how attractive is that? I know it's the Cowboys, but again, you got your owner yesterday saying, "No, I'm the general manager. I'm going to stay the general manager."
Yeah. Oh, he's never.
That
won't. He's Al Davis. It's not until he's up there.
Yep.
And
gone.
that he's going to release that.
Yep.
I could see. I don't know why it just felt like I could see Mike McCarthy somehow ending up in Jacksonville.
Oh man. There was another one too, and I know these are just reports from. Can you imagine this happening though? They said that McCarthy would be interested in the Bears job.
If I'm the Bears, I don't do that.
I don't do that either.
I think you go something new.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like that'd be like Fox all over again when they brought him in. It just doesn't feel like it. The fit doesn't seem to be there. I don't know if Bears fans want anything to do with any former Packers at this point after some of the stuff that's been going on with the assistants that they had there too.
Yeah, I just when I'm like, I don't know if I don't know if the Bears would want that one. I can't see that happening.
I don't. The only thing that we could do is because the Bears are, as an organization, pretty conservative
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to making choices. Like that would be probably the one that would be like
Mhm.
the least out of the box
Right.
that they would go for.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. It just would be the weirdest optics to see him over there in a Bears. But
If McCarthy were to get a third job, I feel like for the sake of him, he'd have to go in between the middle because you go from Green Bay, which has no owner, but a rabid fan base,
yeah,
to Dallas with which is the complete opposite of ownership groups and that. Like, where's the happy medium for him just to like
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville? Probably right.
Yeah, I mean that's the only I. But again, how desirable is Jacksonville?
You got Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, he's had some health
You
issues
got a good
too.
wide receiving crew
Mhm.
too. There's potential there.
And I wonder too, I mean, because they did bring in Doug Peterson to kind of, I thought at that time was a good hire just to like get Trevor Lawrence back on track
Yeah,
to bring in. So I don't know if they would be looking for, and I know that there's this old saying about like, okay, if you go for have an offensive minded coach, then you go to a defense and it goes back and forth. But I like the fact that, and I just read this too, or heard somebody say it the other day. If you've got like for the Bears, for instance, if you've got a young quarterback or a quarterback that you want to mold in that, get an offensive minded head coach, because if you go defensive minded and you bring in this coordinator and they have success, coordinator is going to get a head coaching job.
yeah, yep. You're absolutely right with that. So in that sense, Mike McCarthy as a quarterback guy who that's what his job was before he was a head coach, his quarterback's coach.
Yep.
That wouldn't be the worst idea right there.
Right.
But again, it's such a high pressure spot too, and you've just come from maybe the highest pressure spot.
Yeah.
Chicago they're relentless. There's nothing to. The 85 Bears were the only thing still for them to hang their hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be a tough situation to go into.
I'm going to throw out 2 wild cards in this thing.
All right, I love this.
Before I get your pick, because we got 2 minutes. What happens? Now they both can't because they play each other in this weekend on Saturday. What happens if either the Ravens or Steelers lose?
Tomlin's not going anywhere.
You don't think? Because there was talk last year,
right?
And then they started off hot this year, and then you talk about another team that's limping to the playoffs.
Yeah.
How many losses in a row? Could he move on? Or Harbaugh? There was some talk. Like, I don't see either one of them.
No.
But what if one of those guys all of a sudden said, it's time for a change of scenery?
Right. And that would be the more thing I could see is more one of them saying, okay, we've done this it's the Andy Reid situation in Philadelphia where you've done it for 15 years. It's like, okay, I think, it's time to kind of clear the board and go somewhere else.
Do they move up to number 1 or number 2 on that?
Either of those two are available. I think Tomlin,
Mm-hmm.
I mean Harbaugh too, probably. I mean, Chicago, you got a Harbaugh coming back to Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not the one who played there, but I would. They would definitely shoot up.
I feel like Tomlin would fit in Chicago too. Just that maybe it's that Pittsburgh mentality.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Bring Justin Fields back.
Oh,
but yeah, no, I think I think those two. I think Vrabel right now is the consensus number 1 guy.
Him and Ben Johnson probably up there. Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But then again, we always talk these names, and then somebody comes out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
No, we were not talking about Matt LaFleur. I don't even who was it.
Josh McDaniels was like the hot one that year. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be him, but
whew.
Gosh. All right, I got 20 seconds, man. Prediction.
I'm going to try to give the Packers some hope.
Oh.
They grinded out to a 27-24 win.
Ooh.
And maybe, just maybe, there might be somebody else who makes predictions coming back this week. If I have time.
Yeah. I know.
A little Tecmo Super Bowl.
I like it.
I haven't done it this year, so I might just bring it back for the playoffs. Hopefully more than once.
5 seconds. Does Minnesota win on the road against the Rams?
Yes.
Okay.
Some by 2 points.
2 points. I like that. Have a good one, buddy.
Thank you. You too.
Final hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning. DK Show coming to you live from the TDS Sports Talk studios here this morning. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in from, whether it's on the good old radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. You can also remember, check us out at sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. Download that Sports Talk app and take us on the go. Also, right up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, Twitch, all over the place here. So we are taking your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Fill in the blanks over there. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Send some of those over. We got C-Bomb a little bit earlier saying, I'm not saying he's got a couple of them. Okay. I'm not saying the Vikings offense is bad. I'm just saying to only put up 9 points is more concerning than a loss to the Bears. Green Bay's lowest output was 14, and that was week 2 with a quarterback that had been there a week. I'm curious to hear how nervous Vikings fans are after that showing. Another one, I'm not saying all Packers fans are idiots. I'm just saying that the people that want Malik Willis over Jordan Love are idiots. I've seen a lot of that on X, and it is laughable. Still weird for me to say X. It just sounds dirty. It just sounds dirty when I say X.com. So keep those coming. We got a couple more to get to here in the final hour. So also, Packers fans, what is the main thing, number one thing that has you the most concerned, or what's most concerning to you with your team heading to the postseason, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles Sunday afternoon? What's the one thing that has you concerned the most? Hit me up with your text, 715-830-1912, or comment on the video streams there. A couple of you earlier said what concerns me, says Eric, heading into the postseason is the passing offense for this team. Another one here, Dave had said a little bit earlier, what concerns me the most is the Packers' ability to slow down Saquon Barkley. All right, we'll get back to a little bit more here throughout this hour. Catch up on some more text coming up a little bit later on, but obviously a lot of talk this morning about the Packers and their loss yesterday to the Chicago Bears. What was like? It was, if you had to describe that game from yesterday in like one or two words, what's the best way to describe it? Like, to me, it was just stupid or dumb. Like I didn't. It's like, okay, stupid and dumb because of some of the fundamental issues and some of the issues that Green Bay had overall. And I agree with what Justice was saying too. Is like, it almost felt like at times, did they know what they were going to do? Were they in it to win it? Were they in it to win, but also try to play safe? So they, not trying to, I don't know, like open up stuff in the playbook or whatever. I mean, we did see one thing yesterday on the offensive side that we didn't see all season long, and that was Jordan Love and Malik Willis on the field together for one play. And it was a Malik Willis run. Jordan Love lined up wide to the outside. So, I mean, I guess at this point, it's on film. So teams have to prepare for it. Eagles have to prepare for it or watch it for this weekend. But it was just frustrating, maybe is another word. Like, I get it. The loss didn't really matter in the bigger picture of things because Commanders still won. So even if Green Bay would have won and the Commanders won, they would have stayed. I just think the biggest thing is, like, we wanted to feel good after a loss to Minnesota, which was kind of a frustrating game. Just wanted to see something to feel good. And I don't know of anybody who's feeling good about Green Bay coming out after that game that we saw yesterday. There wasn't a lot of stuff to feel good about. Now, I feel like the defense started off with a lot of energy. We're playing some solid ball. I thought they were doing a good job. Bears scoring because of a punt return and then a fumble. And, it wasn't the defense fault. I thought the defense played well enough for the Packers to win the game up until the final drive when you have a penalty and then whatever the reason is to have those 2 deep safeties back there. I'm very curious when Jeff Hafley talks this week, and I hope that whoever's there for the media asks Hafley, what was the mindset? What was the reason to line up at night? And the thing is, too, that just kind of is maybe a little bit more perplexing is, remember, Green Bay called a timeout before that. So Chicago lines up, and they've got their 3 guys stacked on the one side, forcing single coverage on the other side. Green Bay calls timeout, regroup, talk about it. Bears line up same way. So that's frustrating in itself when you had just a little bit more time to, okay, this is what they went out there, and let's get this right, make sure we're set correctly, and still. So that was incredibly frustrating. And I don't know what's going on with the Packers passing offense right now, but something's just not clicking. Something's just not gelling right now. And it's been like a tale of 2 different halves of this season when it comes to this Packers passing attack, because in the first half of the season, a lot of the concerns and question marks around Jordan Love was outside of his health was, okay, turnovers, throwing interceptions. I mean, that was a talking point, throwing too many, he's throwing like Favre, taking risks, throwing it down the field, throwing into tight coverage. And then it's turned into like, okay, he's not turning the ball over anymore, but it almost feels a little complacent. It almost feels, are they playing a little too safe in terms of the passing game? And especially when they're kind of in a hole here too. Like, they have not gotten in these last couple of games, they've got to get out to a faster start. And it's not necessarily like jumping out to a 14-0 lead right away. It's like your first offensive drive. Let's put together, not have a fumble on your first offensive drive like you do in Minnesota, not have a 3-and-out in your first drive. You're starting off the game, your scripted plays, your first 10, 15, whatever scripted plays. You're starting off going 6, 7-minute drives, and you're coming away with a touchdown, and you're jumping out that way. And they haven't been in a rhythm offensively, it feels like, these last couple weeks. And whether that's because they're in a hole, they've dug themselves in a hole, they're not, catching passes. It just hasn't been fluid. San Francisco, they started off, that was kind of that San Francisco game. Like, okay, started off on a good note. Miami had picked up that way too. And this is what this offense has for this defense to work. We talk about complementary football. And the offense kind of has to play defense in the essence of they got to be playing up to a high level, having those long sustained drives, having those 6, 7, 8-minute long drives, coming away with touchdowns, keeping the opposing offenses off the field, because, especially going over to Philly and taking on the Eagles. Your best defense is going to probably be your offense having those long drives, having those 8-minute drives, having success running the football, having success throwing the football, but keeping Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, keeping those offensive players on the sideline. Because if Green Bay's offense is going to sit there and go 3-and-out or turn the ball over when they get to midfield, or not winning on early downs, if they continue to put themselves in these 3rd and 8s and not able to convert them, it's going to be a long day going up against Philadelphia. It's going to be a great litmus test for this run defense. That stats tell us they're a top 5 run defense. And I think there's still a lot of fans out there that aren't buying that. they're looking at, and I think a lot of it is because we've been. It's always just it's become a tradition that we just stink at stopping the run. It's been that way for a long, long time. And this year, numbers tell us that hey, they're a top 10 team. I think there's more that goes into it. I think there's been games where teams have abandoned the run because maybe Green Bay's jumped out to a lead. And so you're playing a little catch up. So teams have abandoned the run. So there's more going into that, just instead of just saying, hey, Green Bay only allows 99 yards on the ground. They're top 10 unit. There's a little bit more that goes into it. But you want to prove, if this defense wants to prove, like, hey, yeah, we are a really good run defense. We are a top 10 unit. Here you go. Top rusher in the league, Saquon Barkley. Have at her. Prove to it. Prove that you've taken that step to being a top 10 run defense. But going back to my biggest concern in this game, heading into this playoff game, after what we saw yesterday, and maybe what we saw the last couple weeks, there's a couple things here. One, it's going to be the passing attack, because I'm sorry, but if I'm Vic Fangio or if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator right now, and I'm game planning for Green Bay, I'm game planning, okay, we're going to stop Josh Jacobs. That's our mindset. We're going to try to take 8 out of this game and slow him down and contain him. Jordan Love, prove to us that you can move your offense through the air. And the thing is, they should be able to. Even with Watson out, they should be able to. But can they? That's what concerns me. The fact that we're saying, can they? I don't know if they can right now. They've shown that they can, but they got to find that happy medium of being a risk taker and throwing the ball down the field and making big plays, but not making stupid reads and stupid plays, like not throwing in triple coverage, not dropping the football, not fumbling the football. They got to find that happy medium, and I don't know if they're going to find it this week going up against the Eagles. That's one of the main things that concerns me. The other one is going to be, I think you have to, just the fundamentals of, I'm just going to leave this as a blanket statement, fundamental football. And I'm talking about just the basic stuff. No stupid penalties, no turnovers, no no time management, mismanagement. I mean, I know LaFleur owned up to it yesterday by calling a timeout before McManus went out there and kicked. Now, I get it. He was talking to Rich Bisaccia, and they were trying to figure it out. I understand. It's a 55-yarder. There's probably a little apprehension. Like, okay, should we go for this thing? Is he going to be able to get it there? It's cold and all that. So I get it, ran out of time, but he should have been prepared for that to begin with, right? But just knowing the situation, being prepared for the situation, and that goes hand in hand with like that final defensive lineup play. How about you? What concerns you the most heading into this game against the Eagles? Hit me up. Quick text, 715-830-1912. Or you can also comment on the video streams. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. With temperatures a bit colder these days, your vehicle may be working a lot harder this winter season. Add in the potential for poor road conditions, and winter driving can be tough on your vehicle. That's where ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you out, though. Make sure your vehicle is prepared for this winter season with a new oil change to keep your engine running smooth, and that you have the proper tires for those snow covered roads. ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you with both those. Just give them a call to set up an appointment. 715-514-4501. Let's catch up on a couple of messages to the Twitter/X world. Got a couple tweets. Big thanks for that, for hitting me up with some tweets over there. We got I'm gonna just say SD. I don't know if I can get away with saying your Twitter handle there. Prevent equals prevent from winning. Troiber says, Dan, I wholeheartedly agree with the blown defense after the timeout. You have extra time to get ready. So how does that happen? With the lack of a passing game, I feel like they've tried forcing it to other receivers when they were having success using Kraft more. A couple texts on here. We've got we got a weekend hangover here too. I like that. No, that was from. Never mind. Spencer says, "Good morning, Dan. I just got to say the coaching for the Lions, both sides of the ball, was incredibly fun to watch. That 4th and 4 or whatever it was when they got the entire Vikings team to jump, that play was basically set up through the first part of the game. Play in particular was genius. There was also multiple things that Collinsworth touched on that showed how much the coaching staff outcoached the Vikings. After watching that game last night, just makes me a little skeptical about our own coaching staff and how they can struggle sometimes." Richie says, with the horse color, really a big deal. Field looked pretty open, and Williams probably runs for that same distance or more, in my opinion. Felt like desperation grab and wasn't upset about it. I mean, he was heading towards the sidelines there. So yeah, I do feel like it. He still, I mean, no, I don't know if he would have gotten the 15, in my opinion. So I disagree. My opinion, Richie, I don't think. I think he would have been stopped way before 15. I think he would have been able to. I think he would have been either pushed out, forced out, or something like that. But that's just my opinion. So, a couple more texts here. We've got Jim saying, showed the youth of this team lack of execution and fundamental football. That's straight. That points straight to the coaching staff. No excuses. We've got Chris saying, maybe I'm a little bit more positive on this, but I feel like the Packers could use these last 2 weeks, use it as momentum throughout the postseason. Biggest concerns heading into the postseason for the Packers, it looks like a wide majority of you right now going with the passing offense or fundamental football. A couple of you also on social media talking about that too. We've got Jim saying, just stop shooting themselves in the foot, and this team would be a whole lot different, and we'd probably feel a lot better about them heading into the postseason. Just again, quick reminder on schedule in case you didn't see it last night, or and maybe you're just waking up and getting at it here. The playoff schedule for this weekend starts off with the Chargers visiting the Houston Texas. Chargers are actually favored in that game too. So Chargers visiting the Houston Texans. Then we've got Pittsburgh at Baltimore for the Saturday nightcap, and then Saturday we've got 3 games coming up on Saturday. The first one's going to be Denver visiting Buffalo, Green Bay at Philadelphia, 3:30 kickoff on Fox. And then we got Washington at Tampa Bay for the Sunday night game. And then Monday night features the Vikings at the Rams. For our resident Vikings fans out there, C-Bomb wants to know, are you nervous heading into this game? Going to the West Coast, Kevin O'Connell going against his former team where he was an offensive coordinator with. Are you nervous heading out west to face the Los Angeles Rams? So if we have any, let us know so I can forward it on to our good buddy C-Bomb over there. But Matt LaFleur, he'll be talking a little bit more with the media today. I mean, I don't know what else we're going to learn from him. We'll probably get an update, I would assume, on Christian Watson, but I think it's probably safe to say that he is going to be done for the season. Feel like he's going to be done for the season with that knee injury. Jordan Love doesn't seem like there's any concern about him going forward. I think, based off the injury report from yesterday and from the last couple of games, let me bring it up here and let me throw out there. Who do you think on this injury report? Who do you think is more important to have back for this game against Philadelphia? Let's take Romeo Doubs out of this because illness, I would expect him to be back. Matt LaFleur already said he would expect to be back too. So let's take Romeo Doubs out of this. I want to throw in Quay Walker, Evan Williams. I'll even throw in Brenton Cox Jr., who I know some fans be like, who? Or what has he done? He's actually provided a nice pass rush when he's been out there on the field. So of the guys that have been missing last couple weeks here, heck, if you want to throw Zane Anderson in there, you can do that too. But who do you think, for maybe on the defensive side, who's the most important guy that the Packers have to have back that maybe you would feel a little bit better heading into this game going up against the Eagles? Quay Walker, when you got Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, whether it's Quay Walker playing a little quarterback spy, Quay Walker helping out in the run game against Saquon Barkley, using his athleticism, maybe helping out a little bit with the middle of the field passing there. Is it Evan Williams? Because then you get another safety back there. Then you kind of have a little bit more depth in the secondary. Who do you think is more important to come back? If we take Romeo, because I'm assuming we're going to get Romeo back from his illness. I don't know if it was just a bug, stomach flu, or anything like that. Quay or Evan? Quay or Evan? That's a tough call. I know a lot of people are down on Quay. I've been down on Quay. I'm still a little down on Quay. He's had some good games, but the consistency level there. He has shown that when he is on, he could be a really good linebacker. But the biggest question is always surrounding him so far in his career is going to be, can he be a consistent, reliable, consistent defender, a reliable, consistent linebacker? But when he's on, he's good. And looking at this offense against Philly, if he is out, first of all, I want him out there because I want his athleticism out there. I think his ceiling's a little bit higher than McDuffie and Aaron Wilson and those linebackers there. But with the level that Cooper's playing at right now, I want to see him out there with Quay Walker and having some two linebackers that's got some speed out there. I want, even if Quay Walker's back, don't change up what Edgerrin Cooper's doing. Don't adjust his snaps. Don't change his role on his defense. Leave it where he's at, because what he's doing is working. And I think Edgerrin Cooper is going to have to be a big factor in slowing down Saquon Barkley and slowing down that running game. So does Quay Walker play more of a spiral on Hurts or helping cover the middle of the field using his athleticism? Having Evan Williams, though, back there too, you're getting a safety that we've seen some really good stuff from. We saw it in the preseason. We saw it in training camp. We've seen it at different points. And remember, too, in that game against Philly, that first game against Philly, Evan Williams didn't play a single snap. For whatever reason, Evan Williams didn't play a single snap. And that was a big head scratcher. It changed immediately after that. But if you get him back in the back end with Xavier McKinney, you've got another guy that's a really good defender back there. And you're going up against a receiving core that's, pretty darn talented as well. I think both these guys would be huge to get back on the defensive side if they're able to get back on the field. Both would be huge bonuses. huge pluses on this defensive side. Does it make a difference between a win or a loss? Ain't going to hurt. But, man, the way Cooper's playing, if we could get – what was that stretch that Quay Walker had those two really good games back-to-back? What were those games again? Was that San Francisco and Miami? Or no, he had a good – no. Houston, he left early for concussion. Was it San Francisco and Miami? I think under whatever that 2-game stretch was, where it was like, okay, that's the version of Quay Walker we want. That's the version of Quay Walker we've been expecting for a while. We somehow, if he plays this weekend, we somehow get that level paired up with Edgerrin Cooper. With those two guys at that linebacking spot, we can do some things. I don't want to make it sound like it's an insurmountable task going up against Philadelphia, because I don't think it is. I think if Green Bay just plays their game, plays their game plan, plays complementary football, plays like they did during that stretch against Miami, San Francisco, whatever. They play that style of football. They can go into Pittsburgh and pick up a win. Or not Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, excuse me. They can go into Philadelphia and pick up a win. Man, I'd love to see Quay back out there and playing at that high level with Edgerrin Cooper. Just maybe potentially give us a glimpse of what those two could do together. But again, what version of Quay are you going to get, right? That's my main thing. What version of Quay are you going to get if he is out there? If I were picking right now, if I was picking this game right now, which I'm not going to, but I mean, I'm picking the Eagles in this game. I don't think it's an insurmountable task, but right now I'd be riding with the Eagles. I always enjoy seeing these snap counts here. Tucker Kraft, 95%. Okay. What about the receivers? So Dontavian Wicks. So even with Christian Watson leaving the game early and no Romeo Doubs, the highest percentage from a wide receiver was 74%. That was Dontavian Wicks. Jane Reed played 69% of the snaps. Malik Heath had 60. Bo Melton had 40. Interesting. I'm just interested that Malik Heath got a little bit more than Bo Melton in that game. Okay. Luke Musgrave played 26% of the snaps. I don't know if this is something they can do in just a week and get ready, but I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't mind with no Christian Watson if somehow we can incorporate a little bit more Luke Musgrave using his height and his athleticism, 2 tight end sets with Tucker Kraft, because I agree with one of our tweeters, Troiber over there. I'd like to see Tucker Kraft, him being utilized a little bit more. Now, he does a lot of things I understand that don't show up on the stat sheet. He's a fantastic blocker and such. But I think he is a weapon that maybe we're not utilizing as much in these last few weeks that we should be. I get it. You got a lot of guys that you're spreading the ball around to. I understand it. But now we're in the playoffs. Now we're in the postseason. You got to get the ball to your most consistently good players. And I'd throw Tucker into that equation. But I wouldn't mind seeing some 2 tight end sets here. Some 2 tight end sets. You've got Josh Jacobs lined in there. Formations that can give you the indication that you're gonna run it, but you got passing plays out of that thing. Multiple things that you can do in that formation. Jane Reed's gonna have to be a player. Hold on to the football though, man. Defensively, how about some of the snaps here? So, man, Xavier, Keyshawn, and Valentine were the only defensive players to play 100% of the snaps. Javon Bullard, 95. Cooper had 94. Yeah, I'll go back to this thing. So Oladapo, the rookie safety, who has been inactive in some of these games this year, a healthy inactive. Dude played 81% of the snaps yesterday. 81% of the snaps yesterday. And a lot of that is, I think, because they didn't want Eric Stokes out on that field. Eric Stokes played 5 snaps. 5. That's it. 5 snaps. I don't know how this played out. This I don't know if this was mostly, again, it goes that thing that our good buddy Justice brought up. It maybe at times felt like, okay, is this a team that's playing to win, but they're playing a little cautious, trying to hold things back? There is no, if this was a team that was playing this game to win, fully all in to win this game, there's no reason why, no offense, but there's no reason why Aaron Mosby should have had more snaps than Rashawn Gary, and he did. 53% of the snaps. Rashawn Gary, 45%. 45% of the snaps. Enoch Barre led the team with 56% of the snaps. Lucas Van Ness had 44. Kenny Clark played 45% of the snaps. I mean, this tells me here, if I'm just looking at snaps, I'm like, okay, were they holding a little bit back here? We better not see some of these snap times against like Philadelphia. Rashawn Gary should not be playing just 45% of the time against Philadelphia. If you're going to be one of the highest paid defenders, you cannot be playing less than half the snaps. You can't. I get it. You want a rotation. You want to keep guys healthy and such. I understand that. But you should not be third in your position in terms of snap counts. That's where, again, how much were they actually playing for the win yesterday? And then Van Ness playing just 44. Man, there's some interesting numbers in this thing. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll have some picks and predicts, including Bucks tonight. Can they end their little 2-game losing schneid? They've got the Raptors, but that don't mean anything. They just Bucks lost to Brooklyn, and what was that, last Thursday night, and lost over the weekend too. Man, it's been rough for the Bucks. Are you looking for the best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessory hunters? Look no further than Tilden Gun. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or just starting out, they've got everything you need. Tilden Gun carries the top brands and a wide variety of firearms to fit every purpose. Rifles, shotguns, you name it. And if you're not quite sure what you're looking for, their friendly, experienced staff is there to help answer any questions you may have. And it's not just about the gear, too. Tilden Gun offer expert advice that you can trust. Their knowledgeable staff is willing to help you make the right choice and ensure you're confident and prepared before you head out to the woods. So stop by their shop, 12427 90th Avenue, Chippewa Falls. That's 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Or check out their website at tildengun.com to check out all the different options you can choose from. Also, want to remind you, if you have any pain or an injury slowing you down, turn to the experts at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Since 1954, they have been helping patients get back to what they love with advanced care for bones, joints, and muscles. From sports injuries to pain management, their experienced team provides personalized treatment to help you live your life pain-free and getting back to doing what you love to do. So this year, start feeling better with the help from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Visit cvosm.com to get started. All right. Hey, also, this week we'll have a new episode of the 715 Green and Gold Tailgate podcast. So make sure you are following that. It's a new podcast, repping the Packers fans and the 715 nation out there. So we'll have a new one. Might have actually a couple of them this week that will drop out there. So make sure you find that on Spotify, Apple, or it's up on the YouTube page as well. Just look for my YouTube page over there. Let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place here in Eau Claire. You're looking for somewhere to catch some of these games, like maybe some of these hoops games or some of the football action this weekend or at the back end of this week. Got college football over there too. Head on over to the Elbow Room. Before we pick the Bucks one here, we got Phoenix at Philadelphia. Philly's a 3.5-point favorite. Give me the Suns, though. I'll ride with the Suns in this one. We've got Orlando at New York. New York's favored by 11.5 in this one. I will ride with the Knicks in this one. Orlando's pretty banged up with injuries here. Let's go Dallas at Memphis. Give me the Grizzlies. We got Clippers at the T-Wolves. I'll ride with the T-Wolves in this one. T-Wolves favored by 2.5. I think they cover that. Also, and then we'll keep it that way. Then we'll do the Bucks at Toronto. Bucks are favored by 7.5 in this one. That doesn't matter with this team. I mean, they're coming off of a loss against Brooklyn where they were heavily favored. They had to make an insane comeback towards the end just to put themselves in a position. They lose by 3, then they lose to Trailblazers by 3 on Saturday night. So this kind of a frustrating stretch here in the last 5 games. The Bucks are 1-5. Their lone win. So these are your last 5 games for the Bucks. A loss against Brooklyn, a loss against the Bulls, a win against the Pacers, a loss against Brooklyn, a loss against Trailblazers. I mean, what the heck are we doing here? Sitting there at 17-16 right now. You better pick up this win against the Raptors, who have 8 wins so far this year? Yeah, 8-27. You better get this win tonight, Milwaukee. Come on now. Stop playing around. I'll go with the Bucks. I should feel better about the pick, but I don't necessarily feel better about the pick, but I'll go with the Bucks tonight. Oof. You have a chance to rack up a bunch of wins here, and they're not flipping doing it right now. We got a couple. Let's do some college hoops games because we got Ohio State at Minnesota. I'm gonna go with the Buckeyes for tonight's game. And then I thought there was one more I wanted to do. Yeah, we got Wisconsin at Rutgers. Wisconsin, a 1.5-point favorite in tonight's game. You're looking at Rutgers, 10th in the Big Ten right now. They're 8-6 overall this season. They are coming off of a loss against Indiana. I'm gonna go Wisconsin. I'm a little surprised it's only a 1.5-point favorite for Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin wins. I think they ride that momentum from their Iowa. They're not going to drop 116. I think they ride that momentum a little bit, and that carries them to a W. Carries them to a win tonight against Rutgers on the road. So Wisconsin wins, Bucks win. Calling it tonight. All right, let's recap some of the things that we talked. Obviously, talking a lot about the Packers loss to the Bears yesterday. Packers, the 7th seed, they will be visiting the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday in a rematch from Week 1. That game was in Brazil, but Philadelphia yesterday resting some of their starters, including Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, if he does play, which I think he's going to. I haven't heard anything else there, but he's going to probably he's thrown. I think they said just a few passes in the last month or so. So could he be a little rusty, or he might be just well rested and he's going to be unstoppable for a playoff run here. Nonetheless, it's going to be a tough game for the Packers to go into Philly and pick out the win. We'll be talking about that matchup all season long or all week long. Vikings with the loss last night to the Lions, they dropped down to the 5 seed. They have to go on the road to face the Rams now. Rams falling to Seattle, which dropped them to the 4 seed. Tampa Bay, with their win, moved up to the 3 seed. So Tampa Bay will be hosting the Commanders. Vikings on the road going up against the Rams. AFC, not a whole lot of drama there. I mean, Bengals were 1 game away from potentially getting there, but Denver just dominated the Chiefs because the Chiefs put in their practice squad of players over there. So, but we've got Chargers on the road to Houston, Pittsburgh on the road to Baltimore, Denver on the road to Buffalo for your wild card weekend. I think there's some good games this weekend. Really do. I think there's going to be some good games this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I even think that I know we kind of make fun of the Saturday first game afternoon. Chargers at Houston, I think could be a sneaky good game. I think it could. Yeah. I know the Texans haven't been playing up to expectations this year. They've been a little bit banged up, especially Stephon Diggs done for the year. Nico Collins had missed some time for a while there. Well, I think that could be a sneaky one. But I always enjoy wild card weekend when we get to the football season. It's still hard to believe, though, that the regular season's done with. It just felt like yesterday I was putting the TV out in the backyard to watch Packers, Eagles around a campfire. It felt like it was just a few weeks ago. But, man, here we are. And now it's a day, too, that maybe some coaches and coaching staffs is kind of waiting on pins and needles to see if they're going to have a job or they're going to have to look for another job. The firings that have already came down yesterday really quick after the game. Patriots moving on from Jerod Mayo, which sure seems like all signs are pointing to Mike Vrabel. The Patriots trying to move on him to hire him. And the Jaguars have let go of their coach, Doug Peterson. Giants are keeping theirs. Brian Daboll, they've already came out with a statement. He's staying over there with the Giants. So Giants will not be in the market for another head coach this offseason. But we know the Bears are looking. We know the Jets are looking. We know the Raiders. Oh, no, I shouldn't say we know the Raiders are looking. We don't know. That's another one we're waiting on. But we know the Jets. We know the Bears. We know the Saints are looking. They all had interim head coaches. Jaguars and Patriots and such. So don't know if we saw the last of Aaron. Anybody watch the Jets game just to see if it was going to be the last game for Aaron Rodgers? I'll admit it. In our final thoughts here, I watched the Jets game yesterday just in case it was the final game of Rodgers. And of course, that you could tell they were trying to get one more to Devontae. He got it. He passed 500 career touchdown passes, the second quickest to ever do it. We'll finish just a few back from Favre. So if he does call it a career, he'll be a few behind Favre for touchdown pass of all time. But Rodgers is number 5 on that list right now. He looked solid yesterday. I mean, whether that's an example or whether that's a reason for him to come back for another year, whether that's another reason for the Jets to bring him back for another year, I don't know. But sure felt like it had the makings of his final game, kind of a swan song sort of thing. But as we know with Rodgers, you can never predict what he's going to do or what he's thinking or what the plan's going to be here. So, I mean, it just takes one team. If the Jets don't want him and he hits free agency, it takes one team to say, let's try it for a year. I don't know who that would be. I did see somebody say next year, Pittsburgh, 1 year with Tomlin, bring Devontae along with him to Pittsburgh, see what they can do. I don't know if that would happen. I doubt it, but never say never. But we'll see. I'm not even going to predict whether that was his final game or not. Just because trying to predict what Rodgers is going to do is just absolutely ridiculous, and it makes no sense because I don't even want to try to get into the mind of one Aaron Rodgers at this point. So, all right, coming up tomorrow, it's a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? Think about it for a little bit and let us know. Get it off your chest tomorrow. So we'll continue to preview Packers versus Eagles playoff week here. Lots of Badgers chat tomorrow. RJ Cardinal will be joining us. We'll talk some hockey after both the men's and women's team got to play at Wrigley Field. Both losses, close games. But we'll talk to RJ about that. Talk about Badger basketball, obviously with their record-setting nights on Friday against Iowa. See how they do against Rutgers tonight. So we'll talk some hoops with him. The latest in terms of some transfer portals. I know the Badgers just picked up a corner from the U from Miami. So we'll talk about that with RJ tomorrow as well. Hopefully we're talking about a Bucks win. Hopefully they can end their little 2-game losing schneid that they've been on. Some ugly games here. So hopefully we'll be talking about a Bucks win coming at you tomorrow as well. Got some guests lined up for this week too as we get set for Packers playoffs. So keep posted on the socials and that for our upcoming list of guests that will be joining us to break down this Packers versus Eagles playoff game. Hopefully a playoff run that could extend here for a little bit because I am not ready yet to talk about the offseason and offseason plans. Hopefully, but I'm not very confident in that right now. DP and the Danettes are up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday. Let's do this again. All right. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. See you then.